Hey everybody, welcome back to Questions. I'm Brennan Johnson, and this is a show where we talk about theology, philosophy, spirituality, and basically what it means to be human. So you give us your questions, and we try to answer those questions to the best of our ability, which means probably not satisfactory. I've been away for a bit. There's been a million things going on. I'm not going to bore you with all of them. The two things I will say is that I'm currently working on a podcast and a web series called Last Call, which is taking up just a lot of my time. And the other thing is that my wife is pregnant. We're going to have a baby. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be answering questions. But yeah, let's get right into question 17. So, which is, I'm going to combine two questions together. If prayer works, why do experiments attempting to show it show the opposite? And do souls/spirits exist, or is it all going to be explained scientifically? Big questions. Questions people have been ruminating and discussing and philosophizing over for basically the entirety of human existence. And so, let me answer it in 15 minutes. To the first part of the question, does prayer work? Or if prayer works, why does scientific experiments show otherwise? A lot of this question has been answered already, I think back in the first questions video. But I think what we have to first figure out is, what is prayer? Or at least, what is the point of prayer? So, just to recap the first episode, prayer is hard to solidify as one thing. Far too often, if you're religious in the West, and especially if you're religious in the States, praying means writing a list for Santa and asking that Santa God for everything you want. But the flip side is that a large portion of religious people in the West recite words that have been repeated for centuries. It's the tradition, the ritual that speaks to God. It can turn God into a source of a magic spell. Well, I did the prayer perfectly. I said the right things. I made the right moves. Now God has to give me what I want, or make sure everything is good or right in my life. I did the ritual. God needs to take care of me now. But if you follow the Judeo-Christian scriptures and what it has to say about a divine being, the idea of a spark, the engine, the creator, the universe, the thing that breathes life into everything, that being, that force, that power knows everything, or at least everything that there is to know. Prayer, according to the Judeo-Christian scriptures, is not just about asking for stuff. Obviously, that can be a part of it, and I won't deny that when shit gets real in life, a lot of people jump to praying to some sort of God. And I'm not going to say that that's necessarily a bad thing either, but prayer is more than just that. Prayer is a conversation. Prayer is meditation. Prayer is for us. Prayer is for you and for me. I don't pray for God's sake. I pray for my sake. It doesn't have to be Christianity or even any sort of formal religion either. Mystics, thinkers, even CEOs of billion-dollar corporations have learned about the power of just resting your mind for a bit, of meditating, of slowing down for a moment, focusing on ourselves, focusing our thoughts, our feelings, allowing ourselves time to process what is going on in the world. It makes us sharper, it makes us stronger, it makes us better able to face the day. But that's a lot harder to measure or experiment on. If your parameter for prayer is that you simply ask for things, then your science experiment is just put someone in a room, have them pray to God for something, see if God delivers. If not, then God doesn't exist. But actually think about that for a moment. If God exists, if there is a thinking, independent being that exists, all of human history has happened, and that God hasn't come down from the heavens in a bath of golden light and said, hi, I exist, stop debating. And we can talk about why that hasn't happened in another video, but that's just the fact. God hasn't tried to prove that there is a God in the way that would be scientifically solid or make it so that there's no doubt. Do you really think that that God, who has chosen to not be made scientific fact for all of human existence, is going to see you lock someone in a room praying for a miracle and is going to go, well, now I should go, I guess? Of course not. What I will say is that scientific experiments have shown that when people pray, it literally does change their brain. Stress levels, their brain chemistry changes. When people quiet their minds and speak their needs or try to have a conversation with a divine being, when people ask a question or seek an answer or just sit and try and find peace through quieting themselves, something happens in their brains. And you can see on a scanner of that brain. Like, that is kind of amazing. And now, you can argue that, like, well, the same is true when anyone prays, whether that person is Christian or Jewish or a Muslim, doesn't prove the Christian God. I'm not saying that. You can also say that the same is true whether that person prays to a supernaturally divine being or simply just meditates amongst themselves. Like, so it doesn't prove that God exists as much as the proof that meditation is good for humanity. To which I say, cool. Why can't it be one and the same? What I know is that there are millions of people who have inherited a ritual where they get on their knees and they take out a rosary and they pray the most specific prayer, making sure that every word, every phrase, every intention, every movement of moving the rosary through their fingers bead by bead is precisely the way it should be. Because as they pray the same words and the same prayers that millions of people have prayed for thousands and thousands of years, as they speak English or Spanish or Latin or Greek or any other language, as they move from bead to bead, they know that by joining with the voices of millions of people, by joining in a chorus of believers, they are partaking in something that is bigger than they are, and that is beautiful to God. It shows reverence to God. You are so committed to God, to being better, to the betterment of your friends and your family and your community, that you will pray specific prayers you have memorized, and you will pray for eons because you have to show God just how serious you are about your needs and your commitment and your love. But skeptics will say that partaking in rituals and reciting specific prayers is only feeding an institutionalized church that has a long history of abuse and corruption, and by continuing to follow the rules and the rituals that church tells you to do, you're allowing these abusers to stay in power. Because if you believe that God will only listen to you if you do this thing perfectly, it makes it just that much harder to leave the institution that is saying that they know how to reach that God. And again, obviously, I absolutely believe both. What I know is that when I take the time to sit on the ground and cross my legs and light a candle or some incense and play some soft, quiet, relaxing music in the background, when I take some time to allow my racing thoughts and internal panic attack that is always seeking to completely ruin my day each and every day, when I sit and allow myself to just be in my space, to quiet everything, to meditate, to pray, sometimes to sing, to flow through all the dusty corners of my mind and see where my heart takes me, I come away from those times of meditation feeling spiritually on fire and at peace and revigorated. It is an encounter with the breath of life, the essence of the universe, the vein that runs through all of us. It is a miracle. And skeptics would talk about simple brain chemistry and mental health practices. And once again, I say, why can't it be both? Why can't it be the same thing? Because it is the same thing. God is in the wind. God is in justice and mercy and hospitality. God is in meditation. God is in medication. God is in my mind. God is in my heart and my soul because God is in me. But God, the divine, the spark, the engine, the universe, whatever term, whatever name, whatever way you need to think about the thing that is behind all things, that thing is also in you. I was raised in a conservative evangelical community, growing up. And the outskirts of that community, there was this sense of over-spiritualizing everything. And I hated it. Like, it made me uncomfortable. It still kind of makes me uncomfortable. But you had these people who would talk about the most mundane things in the world. Like, my son was sick and he stayed home from school yesterday. But he took some medicine and he rested and now he's better. Praise the Lord. God worked a miracle. And this anger used to rise in me. And I'd be like, how stupid could you be? God didn't heal heal your son? He took an entire bottle of cough syrup. He slept for 48 hours. He drank and ate healthy, nutritious stuff. And now he doesn't have a cold. That's how life works. Like, shut up. But I think I've forgiven them a bit as I've gotten older. Not because God physically came into the room to touch this kid on his forehead and miraculously heal him so he was better, but because God is in the cough syrup. God is in the nap, the Gatorade, and the chicken noodle soup. God is in it all. The universe is there when I get together with my friends and we end up talking for hours and just laughing and catching up with each other's lives. The universe is there when I open a good book and get lost in it. The universe is there when I'm watching TV at night with my wife. And skeptics will say that all of it is supremely unsupernatural. None of it is special. None of it is miraculous. This life is just evolution and science and technology, and everything I just said is mundane. And to the skeptics, I say, yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think God is supernatural. I don't think God is miraculous. I just think God is. God just is. God is math. God is science. God is evolution. God is my brain chemical matter and synapses. God is the burning stars in the night sky and the same atoms of the universe that make up my body and make up yours. All of it is God. Which leads me to the next question. If ghosts or spirits and souls actually exist, or are we going to prove it with science? Which, not even on a mystical level, why can't we one day prove it with science? You know, that souls exist. But to get deeper, souls and spirits are science. Do souls and spirits exist, or is it just electricity in my brain? You know, do I live here in a metaphysical sense? Do I live in my heart? Or do I live here in a physiological sense? Does praying through a rosary actually mean anything? Or is a person just moving beads around in their hand to the ritual means something psychologically? You know, why can't it be yes and? Why can't it be both? It's all true. It's all true. I think we get what we give in this life. Things have power over us, so we allow to have power over us. Things have meaning to us that we allow to have meaning. Is it the wind, or is it God, or is it a natural phenomenon? Do I have a soul, or is my personality and desires and emotions just chemicals and wiring? I truly believe that atheists and mystics, skeptic and believer, are just two sides of the same coin, and the way they see the world isn't nearly as different as they think it is. It's not proving that God does or does not exist. It's choosing what name we are going to call everything. Because this is everything, and everything is here. So that's what I got for you. The fact of the matter is I could talk about this all day and go down a million other avenues. The point of these videos is not to be the last word on an issue, not to be the final word, but the first word. I'm not trying to definitively tell you what to think, but create sparks of conversation and thoughts that help us grow and think and maybe question what we believe or why we believe the things we do. As always, if you want to talk more about the things I said in this video, I would love that. You can always reach out to talk more. Either on YouTube at my personal page, Brennan Johnson, or on Instagram, where you can find us at The Co-Mutual. The Co-Mutual is a collective of people who have been burnt or hurt by religion, who come together and talk about life and depth and meaning and spirituality in a way that doesn't fit into institutionalized religion. Likewise, if you have your own questions about life or spirituality or religion or philosophy or what it means to be human, you can also ask us those same questions out of those same spaces, you know? And we will get to your question eventually. We are working through every question we have received, and so it might take a while, but we're committed to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much. Grace and peace. Cheers.
Wow.